Taking a look today at how I've added a T to the oil pressure system on the air-cooled Volkswagen to run a mechanical oil pressure gauge. You can look at the earlier video, see the difficulties I had getting this T to wind up pointed straight up. It's still tilted back a little bit, which is actually fortunate because it's very close to the distributor. This white plastic hose, of course, will go to the gauge on the instrument panel. I've put it inside some convoluted tube for safety and protection. And between it's the T, here's the oil pressure switch, which is stock to turn on the idiot light. So there's the T, the metric to standard adapter, a valve that I installed, and then here's the VDO adaptation to the clear plastic hose. There's a ferrule inside, unfortunately not a hardware store ferrule, but a special one. So to get more of those, you'd have to buy a whole nother hose kit. The valve is so that if the plastic line were to ever break or start leaking, I can turn off the supply of oil and limp home, so to speak. I've never had one of these white hoses fail. I've got another one. It's been running for about 10 years with one of these little valves, but just don't want to get stranded somewhere having the plastic hose break. Kind of concerned about the congestion here. I had to put the distributor in with the condenser here instead of in the back because there'd be interference there. I mean, it's getting the oil pressure reading right from inside the block, which is important to know. However, with the full flow setup, the oil is coming into the engine here, and that hose leads up to my oil filter here. It's kind of hard to see, but I drilled and tapped this and added this line coming out also with the valve that supplies the toilet paper oil filter. I could have just as easily added a T here and measured the oil pressure. It's not going to change much, I hope, between this hose, which goes down to the block, which winds up here inside the engine. But to get the information from inside the engine, at least for now, I've got the mechanical gauge hooked to the block, not the filter base. What I had before was the typical VDO electric gauge sender and idiot light switch combination installed here. I've ran that setup for at least 10 years. I just got to be concerned about the accuracy and reliability of the electric gauge. With the engine off, often it would show 10 psi, and it seemed to flicker a lot going down the road. I don't know if that's actual oil pressure fluctuation or just some idiosyncrasy of the electric gauge. So with the mechanical gauge, I'll know for sure. Sounds like my neighbor has some leaf blower action going now, so I'll end this by saying thanks, and be sure and watch my other videos.